Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the GTR Player Podcast. I'm Bans, your host, and today we have an episode that's revolving around how to prepare for your very first game. And we've got none other than Vivek from Canada joining us here today. Vivek, welcome.
Hello, everybody.
So good to have you here, mate. It's great. It's the first time you and I are connecting. I mean, you know, we've engaged online a little bit, but it's the first time we're talking. So I'm super excited to know all about you, your scene, but really get your insights on how people can prepare for their first game. Before we get stuck into that, though, mate, can you tell me, you know, what team are you currently playing? I know you're at the top of the leaderboard for Warp Coven, right? And for personal love for Warp Coven, you are, mate. You are indeed.
No way. No shot.
Yeah.
I gotta actually check this right now. I'm at the top for Warp Coven.
My understanding, when I last looked about a week ago, you were at the top of the leaderboards for ITC for Warp Coven. I
haven't played a game of Warp Coven in months. I'm a Corsairs boy that, now that Deathwatch is out, is now a Deathwatch boy because they are very near and dear to my heart. Yeah, we're in that space right now, but I'm still not 100% sold. I'm still experimenting with stuff. Raveners look very cool. They're on my list. Corsairs are definitely still on my list. There's too many. There's too many right now.
Personally, because I'm a heretic, I've got to ask this question. Do you not feel dirty playing Deathwatch?
No, absolutely not. Deathwatch is, even organizationally, my favorite thing inside the entire Imperium. I could write you a dissertation on why it should be the standard model for how Space Marines should be organized in general.
Oh my god. Well, they were the first team that gave us Kill Team, so I guess I've got to respect them a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
Kill Team also comes from them. It's been a long time coming, and Games Workshop did a phenomenal job of it. It's great. I love it. I love every part of it.
Yeah. I wonder if you guys, because playing Space Marine 2 a lot, I wonder how many people have actually taken that Titus model and converted it into their team.
Here's the thing. Nobody has a chainsword on the Deathwatch team.
That's true.
I guess you could swap the head. The head would be really great to swap.
Yeah. Why not? But yeah, so what team are you currently playing? What do you put on the table today?
Right now it's Deathwatch. I'm playing them through and through. I watched a couple videos of some of my friends in our local scene play Raveners and whatnot. I'm kind of looking at them now too. Their unorthodox style of play is very intriguing, particularly for taking to Worlds, where it's a lot harder to do the math on everything they can do in a given moment, where they can appear anywhere on this massive tunnel network. They can still charge for 7 inches, move for 5 inches. They can pop out in the strat phase, charge for 9 inches. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on in that.
Wow, so Deathwatch. And mate, if we were to wind time back just a wee bit, and you know, it was your first experience with Kill Team, give us a bit of insight to that.
Oh man, so my first experience with Kill Team is completely and utterly burned into my memory. This may not have been maybe like my first game of Kill Team, but it's definitely one of those very first ones where you finally kind of learned all the rules and you're playing a game with all the rules as a full game now. It was against my buddy Angel. He was playing Navy Breachers, his previous edition, okay? I'm playing Vet Guard. I played Vet Guard exclusively the entire of last edition without playing a single other team. Wow. Mostly because they were my first painted ones, and they remained, I think, my only painted kill team for that entire edition. And I loved them. It was perfect. It was that love at first sight, match made in heaven. I loved Guardsmen. I loved the idea of having way more smaller pieces to play with rather than more expensive pieces in a bucket. So it felt very good for the way the game wanted to be played. Like when a Space Marine kills a Guardsman, it's like a Guardsman dies if any offensive action is taken against him. That's fine, kind of thing. When a Guardsman kills a Space Marine, it is a hero moment that also wins you the game. So it's Vedguard against Navy Breachers. It's horde on horde, a lot of bodies. Angel ends up going first. he does the extra APL, breach and clear, throw the demo charge. I have not positioned for blast at all whatsoever in my
Wow.
deployment zone. In fact, I've probably dashed out using the Vet Guard pregame dash. I probably dashed a bunch of people out into new positions, not accounting for blast at all. And Angel runs up and wipes out a clean 5 guys with 1 activation off the bat. And like, oh, we're playing kill team now.
Yeah, wow.
And it really taught me that's like those first few games you gotta learn to accept losing and learn from everything you lost from, because a
Yeah.
lot of stuff you're just not gonna understand it until you really see it happen. You know, when you think blast 2 inches, like, oh yeah, it's gonna hit my guy and everybody in 2 inches. That's one thing. To see it wipe out 1/3 of your team in one go is a completely different experience that really crystallizes the lesson for everybody involved in that situation.
Shout out to Angel,
Thank you,
his
Angel.
baptism of fire.
I bring that example up every single time I am doing that for a new player. So I run a Kill Team Academy with a store Top Shelf out in Oakville. So we do a
Nice.
lot of new player churn. So I'm very used to the experience of taking somebody who has no Kill Team experience and building them up to playing their first game, or they play Kill Team and they want to be like, I want to go to my first tournament and feel like I can
Mm,
compete.
mm,
Uh, so on that first side, that first game, that first time where I do something where it's like, because we've been playing in practice so you can learn all the rules, and it's like now we're playing a game and I'm going to
yeah,
do a thing. The first time
yeah,
you do something or you set something up and then it pops off and like the light clicks for them, be like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
This is where like all the rules I've been learning kind of click and interact, and these
yeah.
things happen. And the only real way to learn it in Kill Teams is have it be done to you, and you're like, oh, I understand now. I understand how this works. I now understand
That's
what I must do
awesome.
to perform it and to defend against it. And I bring up that story with Angel every single time, be like, I also learned this way. It has to happen to you. You learn from it.
I got a couple of guys in my team. A massive shout out to Shrub and Icarial because they've tasted my Balefire Acolytes Blast a couple of times, maybe when I was teaching them games as well. So there are moments like that across the globe where people go, damn it, but at the same time, I get it now. But I think that's a really good segue to maybe get into your scene a little bit, Vivek. Can you share us? You've just mentioned Kill Team Academy. What's the scene in your neck of the woods over in Canada like?
Our scene is so where I am in southern Ontario in Canada. Our scene is pretty massive. We have a few big hubs. We have Maple Leaf Wargaming out on the East End, who host every other weekend. Constant players coming through from there. We have tournaments all over the city. Almost every game store has now dipped their toes into Kill Team. Runs tournaments. Negative Zone, big place. People get together on Wednesdays. So it
Wow.
started like really grassroots. George is kind of like the grandfather of the scene down here. He got a lot of people into it, who then went on to get a lot of more other people into it, and it's kind of exploded. And then out west, you have Chimera, who run monthly kill team tournaments, multi-day kill team GTs. Like the amount of support and also the amount of quality players it's produced is massive. We're
That's
all kind
great.
of in this like 3 hour diameter geographic area. So much kill team is going on. Uh, it's to the point where it's not quite to the level of 40K in terms of number of people, but it is getting there, and its exposure is there. And then there's also a lot of cross pollination. We've had 40K players come on down and
Mm,
join and participate in Kill Team. So it's been really good. We're in that kind of growth stage. We're still getting a lot of new players. We hosted a 3 golden ticket event earlier this year, which was phenomenal. We gave away a flight to Worlds on top of that too.
congratulations.
That
That's
was
amazing.
really fun for us to do. So we're trying to do big things in this area in Canada, and it's a very wholesome, nurturing scene where you will bring up new players, and then they will bring up new players, and the scene is very healthy in terms of attitude and gamesmanship and whatnot. So it's really great. It's like a really great place to if you want to get into it. In some areas, it can feel like a bit of a struggle because it's a lot of like, oh, I just got to get like beat all the time. we have a lot of people in our community who are willing to sit and teach and take the time to sort of build you up as a player, and then
Mm,
beat you in
mm,
the
mm.
game to show you, it's like, yes, no, like this is where all the rules connect. Bam.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I mean, community and shaping it is really important, and we've got a awesome episode coming up on that as well. But it's so great to see that, people like, was it George you mentioned?
Oh yeah, George.
Yeah,
Shout out to George, the best.
massive shout out to George. Yep.
George, one
It's
day I'm busy playing competitive 40K. Hey, you should try Kill Team. Sure, I try it. I'm immediately like, I love this. I go to
yeah,
LVO shortly after playing like 7 games of Kill Team, just to be like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've always wanted to go to something like this, and I just got into this. I'm down. Let's go. Went to LVO, had a blast. Went back the next year, won my golden ticket in Flight to Worlds. It's great. It's a good time.
Oh, that's amazing, mate. Look, it's so important to have people like that into the community, right? Because you don't really have marketing and advertising teams around communities, right? So people just approaching people seeing something, you know, piquing their interest and then having a chat to them is super important, because a lot of us that play this, are probably introverts, when it comes to social skills. But when we get into the
You'd be
game, we really
surprised.
get,
I think
yeah,
it covers this huge spectrum of people coming from like all kinds of walks of life. I think that's probably the most amazing part about it. And because Kill Team is way more accessible than 40K,
yeah,
for example, because man, you can go buy like damn near the entire Kill Team range for the cost of like one medium robust 40K collection of one army. Let's call it like 3,000, 4,000 points, where it's like you have enough variety to make a few lists, kind
yeah.
of thing.
That's
You
a
could
true
go buy like
story.
the whole Kill Team range for like the cost of that, like one 40K army to go be competitive with, sort of thing.
That's
So it's like you
that's
get people will join and like they don't need these behemoth collections. The cost of entry is like actually I guess
minimal.
in Aussie dollars, like probably about $100 a box thereabouts.
About you're spot on there, mate.
Yeah, we're like 70, $80 a box here in Canada. So like $80 plus tax of the box, so it's about 100 after tax, plus a few paints, plus some
Mm,
brushes. So you're like, for $150, you get buy-in, and then you can add on $100 at a time, one full team, one full thing. So that
nah, that's really good.
being able to enter it, you get this massive variety of people, and people will come to tournaments. Like not everybody there is to be full sweaty and compete, but like those, like the mid tables and that area, it's like people are there to like, yeah, try hard, have fun, kind of thing,
Mm, 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 mm.
and share in this hobby together, and it's just really great. Basement Bastards, shout out to Aiden, and Ryan, and everybody else. They host those kind of events, the custom maps, eating contests. Like it is a
Hang on,
fun time for everybody involved.
hang on a second. Did you just say basement bastards?
Yeah, yeah, they're called the Basement Bastards because
that
Ryan
that
hosts
is
tournaments in his lovely basement and is a
that
bit of
is
a bastard.
gold. That is gold. Massive shout out to those guys just for the name basement bastards, right? That is gold.
They are
Oh, that's
great.
hilarious. That's amazing. That's amazing. Hey, mate. So today's episode, literally about playing your first game of Kill Team. On the previous episodes, we built up on the history of Kill Team, choosing your first team, painting and assembling. Now it's time to get your team on the table and have your first game. And you've mentioned some really good nuggets there, like, um, when a particular situation clicks and when people understand some of the game mechanics. First thing, I just try and do when I'm running somebody through a learning game or an intro game is just to let them know that this is just an introduction, right? This isn't the game, because a lot of people, especially after they've painted their models, assembled them, they're emotionally invested in them, and they're probably really wired, as in focused on the game. So getting them to be patient and kind of setting the expectations and having clear communication, especially around a mindset piece, is really important. What are your thoughts on that, and how would you, run or introduce a person to Kill Team?
It's definitely the crawl, walk, run method.
Mm,
Trying to shotgun all the concepts at once. Certain people, absolutely. Like some people are like, yes, I want it all at once because they thrive on that kind of complexity. I am one of those people. I'm like, give it to me all at once and let's piece it together. That is like that's not gonna work for everybody. You really want to take it in small, digestible chunks and
Hmm.
build up to that full game where you use everything you've learned previously. Um,
Mm.
I've been helping run Kill Team Academy for a few months now, so I'm naturally a teacher. Like I used to teach chess, a few other things. Uh,
Mm.
so I kind of understand how to take someone from that beginner to let's now properly do this thing
Yeah.
stage. And for Kill Team, you start off very simple. Like you talk about the map and the terrain. Do cover, in cover, out of cover, engage, conceal, shoot, fight, like very basics, the absolute core basic concepts of the game. We're not even worrying about ploys, stuff like that, CP, none of that stuff. Just like what are the basic, absolute bare bones components of a turn, and then you just slowly build up from there. Add in more complexity of weapon rules. Slowly build up to adding the tac ops and the missions. You at the tail end you explain obscuring because that is like a coin flip whether or not they will get it immediately or it'll be
Yeah.
a mystery to them forever.
Yeah. And what about prep wise, like pre-game study? Look, any game system I personally get into, whether it's AOS, 40K, 30K, Blood Bowl, even any game that I want to play, I'll actually go and watch a couple of battle reports or some YouTube channels. Were there any in particular that you would recommend people watch and listen to before they get their first introduction into a game?
So the first thing I would do, so I always have my players try and go, yeah, consume the rules in some manner. So first you determine
Mm,
like, are you a person who needs to read it or are you a person who needs to hear it and see it?
mm,
If it's hear it and see it for YouTube channels, there are a fair few. I struggle to recommend any one in particular because I must read it and then I must do it kind of
yeah.
learner. If I watch it in a video, I will absorb exactly nothing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
So for
go
me,
after
I
more
struggle to
mainly.
recommend a channel because I don't go to these channels for that purpose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I usually go for news, their insights. If I like the way they play their stuff, they got cool insights, their insights, stuff like that. But for learn the rules kind of thing, I'm definitely a go read everything a couple
Mm,
times to understand just like what the language of the rules is. Because when you understand how the rules are written, you can then understand how like the team rules are written. Like once you've read the core rules, like okay, this is kind of how Games Workshop wants to use their language. And then when you go read the team rules, the stuff that sounds a little weird will click a little easier because you've read a bunch of weird Games Workshop language before. That kind of stuff. Uh, I would always recommend any YouTube channel that is going to show you in a video while talking about it, like using TTS. If they're explaining the concept of cover, don't just use a static image. Have like a model and be like, this is in cover. This is what happens when you're like, kind of partially using cover. The cover line is gonna give you an angle for your opponent to take advantage of. Show it while you're talking about it. I think Kill Team is just really hard to, if you're just listening to the rules, to absorb that kind of stuff because there's a lot of spatial concepts being explained where I feel like you
yeah.
really need either hands-on or as part of the video to be showing the concepts in the video and not just like a PowerPoint slide of text.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. To your point, me personally, I sometimes, unless it's code, I struggle with interpreting what I'm reading, especially if it's not that clear. One really good, fun way to kind of understand some basic concepts and visuals from my perspective would be the guys at Mountainside Tabletop, because they
Yes,
they kind of put a bit
lovely
of a
guys.
yeah, good guy, really good guys, fellow countrymen as well, right? But
Yep, yep. Just
yeah,
down the street, as it were.
literally. So it's just from my perspective, they kind of mix a bit of story, they mix a bit of game mechanics, they mix a bit of creativity, and they make it really fun to watch. Like I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of just watching their stuff. Even if they roll some pretty, even if they're trying some pretty janky moves and roll some pretty whiffing dice, it's just fun to watch. And from being a visual learner myself, I appreciate the kind of perspective that they give. So I watch how they play some teams before I actually go and read the rules on them, because then my brain kind of fits the two together. But to your point, having a half decent grip on the master core rules, and especially with that point you mentioned about how those mechanics interlock with faction mechanics, I think is really important, but not the be all and end all to your point, right? It's about coming and having a crack, rolling some dice, and enjoying some good times rolled, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's about what you want to get it. Like if you want to be hyper competitive, then I'm gonna prescribe a bunch of different stuff, you know.
Yeah,
But like if this is like, yeah, this is a hobby that I want to be able to do. Like I just want to be able to play the game properly. Like absolutely, let's do that. We'll get you there.
yep. And what do you think people need to bring to their first game of Kill Team in terms of just, aside from minis, what do you recommend people bring?
So yeah, bring your team, bring your measuring tools. I recommend the sticks over the measuring tape.
Yeah,
Fundamentally, it is the same, but the measuring tape is going to be a little bulkier for you to use around all the kill team terrain. The sticks are great too. Sticks can be laid on the ground, very convenient. Bring your sticks. Bring your approved ops cards, so whatever your current mission cards are, because you're gonna want those references. You don't necessarily have to buy them; they have print and play. Go for that too. And then your full reference materials, whether like including your weapon rules cheat sheets, like your core rules cheat sheets, whatever you need for quick reference, bring that in the form you want. So whether you want to print it out or on your phone, have it available to you quickly so that you can reference rules when you are not sure. And if you can't figure out the reference, then you ask. Like if this is our first game kind of thing where we've done all the practice, now we're trying to play that first game, where I want you now as the student to try and do as much of it on your own and sort of reach out to me for help when you're stuck kind of thing
mm,
to see how much you've learned. That is where it's like, yeah, have all your rules references there so that you can reference it yourself and try to answer your own questions before you ask me.
yeah, no, definitely. And that's a great point about the measuring sticks versus the measuring tape. I find the measuring tape obviously to be a lot more, and they're both perfectly fine to use, right? But I find the
Yeah.
measuring tape being more applicable for 40K than it is for Kill Team. Number one, because it's such a smaller sized board. Number two, because the terrain and your positioning with your base, because your base and the size of it directly represents the volume you're taking up on the field. And the measuring sticks are a far more precise way to move around corners than the measuring tape is, because sometimes it can be a little bit misinterpreted with how it moves, especially if you're bending the tape, right? Where
Yeah, betting the tape has introduced its own set of pros and cons for going around corners.
yeah.
We do a whole episode on just the minutia of that.
literally, I couldn't agree with you more. But the being able to break down into 1 inch increment movements, using the sticks, especially the triangle shaped one, is really crucial, because the moment your base clips terrain, that's 2 inches gone, right? Unless you've got some jank. So that's really important, because to your point, you mentioned this earlier really well, the spatial side of it, and having a grasp on that, especially with things like heavy terrain obscuring you, shooting and so forth, is really core. Is really core to making sure the game plays the way it was
Exactly.
intended to by design, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, phenomenal.
And your dice, your favorite dice. I'm a very logic-driven person. The only thing I'm superstitious about are dice all the time in basically every form. So do what you got to do to get the dice that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, like
Is my advice on dice.
literally. And I've got a friend of mine, Screech, who I've stolen one of his dice. I'll admit that to live on air. I've stolen one of his dice, because what he likes doing is he likes having 5 dice of one particular set and then another of another one, and that's kind of like his balance to take any bad juju off his dice. But I pinched it, but I'll give it back. I'm just taking it just to annoy him, but I've pinched that. But a massive shout out to Shrub, aka Dylan, who I played.
Wait, I gotta
Yeah.
follow up this with my own Dylan story, which is
Okay.
great that they're both Dylan in this situation.
So we've both got Dylan's, like,
We both have a
literally.
Dylan dice story.
Oh mate, like he's firstly, so we've got some GTR dice, right? We've got some GTR branded dice, some nice dice, and whoever I've passed on these dice to, or whoever's purchased them when they turn up to GTR events, has rolled nothing but more sixes and more fives than anything else, right? And so there's a rumor that's going around that the GTR dice are cooked, which isn't the case, by the way, because I was rolling pretty bad the other night with Dylan, right? And I had to use a lot of communion points to try and make some good out of it. And he beat me. Congrats, Dylan. But last night he ran a Reaver into one of my Vespa wings, and his Reaver charged, and he rolled 4 1s and 1 4. And yeah, my Vespid ended up taking him out. RIP to your Reaver, Dylan. I'm so sorry, mate. But yeah, he was rolling really bad last night. But over to your Dylan story, please.
So my friend Dylan, left a die in my trunk one day, okay?
Wow.
And it rattled around and ended up rolling on a 6 into like the little latch you would click open to go get the spare tire underneath, which happened to be basically the exact size of the die. So it lived there for an eternity, and it was my car's 6-up invulnerable save that was always on, okay? It was always on because I had always rolled a 6. It was always going on back there. I went to go get a subwoofer installed in my car, and they pulled the trunk liner out, and they didn't see the die, and the die went flying out of the trunk liner, bounced around the shop, ended up outside the shop, still rolled a 6, okay? I still have that die to this day on my bedside table, sitting at a 6. And Dylan asked for it back, and I say no, because it's mine. It's mine now.
Well, I think it is yours. You technically indirectly rolled it twice, right? And you rolled 2 6s, so I guess you lay claim to it now.
It is, yeah, that's mine. Good luck die. Which is hilarious because Dylan has famously bad luck for rolling dice. Like, famously bad. Super bad. Ultra cursed.
Wow. Maybe he really needs that. Wow.
You can't have it back. It's mine.
Oh, sorry, Dylan. sorry to both Dylans.
Sorry to both Dylans. Yeah. Shout out to all Dylans out there. We're sorry.
Massive shout out. Hey, so Vivek, we've gone into like gathering the necessary components, dice tokens, measuring sticks, terrain and boards definitely, but like those can be loaned or borrowed, or you can, improv. We've spoken about rules and references. I guess what would be really good to focus on is the mindset of your first game, right? Because again, like I said earlier, you can be really invested in your first game. You're emotionally connected to the minis you've been painting. Your deathcore, you're playing for a year. I think it's really important that during the game, there's a lot of communication, right? The first game, and you've run intro games, I've run intro games. Making sure that the person understands what's going on at every point and how things like APO work, how things like orders work, line of sight you mentioned, we touched on obscuring, but having the right communication, how important is that, when you're playing a game? Because I've stopped multiple times a particular game that I'm running an intro on. I'm going, guys, just remember, this is an intro game. This is just so you absorb everything. Don't take it to heart if you lose a model. Treat every action as its own instance within the game, because it could be at the start of a game, it could be at the end of a game. But communicating is really important, right?
Communication is key. This game does not work without communication. So we're trying to precisely measure stuff with sticks in the air, leaning over a table. Intent and communication is a core and fundamental aspect of gameplay here at any level. You and your opponent need to be on the same page for this game to work. Any kind of miscommunication or attempt to hide information or stuff like that, or you want to achieve an effect that is, hard to visually and distinctly achieve. For example, instead of standing flat to a cover, you want to stand out at an angle. It's a really good idea to establish what this angle is for your opponent, because visually speaking, we don't have the time to lay down the graph paper and to draw the tangent line and do this like the actual math real quick. We need to pull out a laser and eyeball it and agree with each other what this is. Same thing for even your first game of Kill Team. You and your opponent just got to be on the same page. So even the little stuff being like, yeah, I'm gonna move this guy up here. I'm gonna use this thing for cover. So you shouldn't be able to shoot me from like this kind of angle. Like I'm flat. You gotta get behind me or within 2. Doing that kind of stuff is really good practice, both for learning the rules So you understand, it's like as a new player, like I've put this piece here. I am in cover from heavy terrain, so I don't have to worry about vantage or anything like that.
Mm, mm.
Am I flat enough to the cover that my opponent needs to get either behind me or within 2 inches of me to shoot me? Checking all that kind of stuff and verbally acknowledging and communicating it with your opponent is really good so that you're always on the same page. Now,
Yeah,
if you're
no,
playing a
definitely.
tournament, there's a little more nuance to it, but you still very much want to be on the same page with your communication. You may not need to communicate everything because everybody knows all the little stuff. But in those early stages, more communication means you're going to learn the rules better, particularly if it's two newer players playing, which is generally once people learn the game, get to the point where they've played those first couple games with all the rules, and then they start playing each other. Most people learn this as a group. Usually it's a few buddies jumping into it at once, or one buddy has gotten into it and he's went and grabbed all his other buddies, and now they all got to be taught, kind of thing.
Mm.
You'll start playing each other. Communicating those things to each other when you're both newer is doubly important. It's a learning experience on both sides. Both of you will understand what's going on way better.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it really cascades over into the element of playing with intent in the competitive scene, like you just mentioned, because, we've seen instances on streams and so forth where people are playing with intent, just communicating with each other. And it just brings a better element of ethical gameplay, in my opinion, as well, because not only communicating what you can and can't do, but also prompting your opponent to check in and see what they might have up their sleeve is really important as well, right?
Yeah, so like picking a hypothetical spot and being like, okay, if I move a guy up to here, is there anybody you have who can charge this guy? You're looking at the field. All right, cool. Let's do some measurements real quick. And then your opponent's like, I have this guy who can teleport through walls. He's hiding over here. You could charge
Mm.
this guy. Like, oh, excellent. Thank you very much. I will find a different spot.
And hey, it's better to be outplayed when you have those elements in consideration rather than to be hit by a gotcha, right?
Yeah, 100%. I will never understand anybody who takes any joy in gotchaing your opponent. Uh, I like if you're not beating your opponent at their best, what is the point? Kind of
Yeah,
thing. Like, why are we doing this? Everybody here works a day job and like lives a life. This is a hobby we're doing together. If we can't all like be
exactly.
upfront and do this in good faith, why are you here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
If we were
exactly.
playing for like serious cash prizes and stuff, I'd fully understand. Shark away, gentlemen. Totally
Yeah,
acceptable.
yeah,
There is nothing on the line. Even at the highest tippy top levels, there's free Games Workshop stuff on the line. You
yeah,
know, we can all do this at a much higher level of good faith. Everybody can be held to like a great standard, and we can do it all together.
yeah. No, definitely, definitely. Um, just touching back on setting expectations and kind of framing the way the game actually plays, like things like turn structure, core mechanics, implementing in, and not necessarily on winning. I think that's really important because whether you're playing somebody who's running you through a game and they're super experienced like you and I, and it almost seems like a breeze. I think if two friends are learning, especially at home or something like that, really focusing and understanding the wording and the terminology in some of GW's data cards, core rule book, and then how that actually plays out on the table is really important because, we've spoken that, it's not just about winning, it's about winning ethically when you talk about competitive. But when you're talking about just basic standard gameplay and learning with a buddy, focusing on learning the things is really important over winning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in those early stages, trust me when I say those first like 10 games, you're gonna do a whole bunch of stuff wrong. Everybody's gonna do a bunch of stuff wrong. Tons of stuff's gonna get forgotten. You want to focus on learning those things you forgot and getting to the point where you're playing a full clean game with no like core rules mistakes or mistakes from your data sheets kind of thing.
Mm.
Learn together, be collaborative about it. There will be time down the road once you know everything to then get sweaty with your friends and butt heads and have a great time.
Yeah,
Those early
definitely.
learning stages, definitely play it to learn. And
Mm.
it's fully like a lot of people pick this up as a competitive outlet because it's a thing you can do that isn't on the computer that is competitive. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and like if your goal is to be like me and my buddy, we compete, like we play head to head everything. Play those first 10 games to learn all the rules, then go head to head.
Yeah. And it's really important. Again, we touched on this, but it's really important to be patient because, like you just said, you'll make mistakes. You'll have to sit there and refer to the rules. Your first game might take, anywhere up to 4 hours. But then once you
Oh
get
yeah.
into the swing of things, that's perfectly normal, to sit there and get frustrated and look up and be a little bit frazzled. And look, when I run people through learning an intro games, to your point, when we discussed at the start, it's a really watered down version of the game, but that's because by the end of it, your brain's basically soup because it's trying to absorb everything all at once. If there's two of you and you're sitting at home or you're playing with your mate or your brother or your sister, just be patient when you're absorbing all of the rules because you'll have to refer to that rule book or the light rules that are available on Warhammer Community in the Kill Team section. You'll be referring to that a lot because there's a
Yep.
whole lot of mechanics based on the core rule set that you'll need to know.
And like, some of the Games Workshop illustrations do an excellent job of telling you what it is. Some of them do not.
No, I mean let's not forget about shooting off and on vantage was in second edition.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was interesting, right? That was really interesting. Um, are there any resources you're familiar with aside from YouTube channels or anything like that, Vivek, that you've seen people produce? I've seen a lot of amazing cheat sheets come out when third edition first dropped on Reddit, and I think that's a great resource.
Oh yeah. Reddit is a decent resource for finding the correct resources. I can't speak to the efficacy of like open discourse on the Discords or on Reddit or some of the Discords too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very much a when it's an open forum kind of thing. There's a lot of interesting opinions sometimes and interesting takes. So maybe don't use Reddit as the Bible for sure. But if you have a question,
No.
you can definitely get it answered. Like if you have a core rules question or like an esoteric concept question, you can definitely generate some discussion and get some meaningful answers from it. Uh, the KT3 Battle Kit is probably your absolute best resource for anything. It has
Oh,
everything you
yeah.
need. It also has a place for you to read all the core rules, not in a PDF.
Mm.
Uh, like, yeah, better illustrations, like the whole shebang. Like that is a great place to go for just access to the rules if you want to read and study it on your own. Uh, Other resources. I mean, there's like KT Dash for keeping track of stuff in games and whatnot.
Yeah.
I've always been more of a pen and paper kind of guy for that stuff. 'Cause I do this to like get off the computer, so I try to use like I'll have my phone for my references to the app and whatnot, and I try to do everything physically on the table. So I'll use like little
Yeah.
tracking trays and whatnot.
Yeah, physical's definitely good, but the thing I like about KT Dash as well, it sits there everything on one pane, and when you
That is
tap
true.
on the
It's still good.
yeah
Don't get me wrong. It's
when you
still great.
yeah you tap on the keywords though, and it pops up the rules based on those keywords, which is really exciting as well from a faction perspective, and it's basically replicating everything on the Kill Team app or anything you can get freely on Warhammer Community in the Kill Team section, but putting it on a single pane of glass. And it also does things like wound tracking and so forth as well, which I personally love, right? So I carry a tablet around and use
True.
KT Dash religiously. Um, so we've spoken about all of these elements and getting your team on the table. What's a really good way of wrapping up and reflecting after someone's had their first game, right?
Uh, I think the best thing to do after that first game is a really deep debrief kind of thing.
Mm,
I would even, if you, this is actually a good idea. I think I might incorporate this now. Take a physical snapshot, take a picture of a board state. You can talk
yeah,
about it later. Um, yeah, go through like here's where the mistakes were made. Also mix in like here were all like the great decisions you made. Like here's all the cool stuff you did. Mix it in with
yeah,
like these were the mistakes, these were the good parts. Here's kind of like the rules that were sort of forgotten or maybe you forgot about. That's another big one. People forgetting rules that are to their benefit, not just forgetting the core rules, little data sheet stuff where it's like, oh, this guy could charge from conceal, this guy ignores obscuring, that kind of stuff
Yeah.
where it could have a meaningful impact. Uh, yeah, I would go over the things they missed. We do a debrief on good and bad decisions, and that'd probably be about as much as they can absorb after their first full game. And just give
Yeah.
them enough to think about so that when they go play their second game, they have at least a few lessons to take from game one to then apply into game two.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. Good mate of mine, Sam. He always talks about things like, what was my biggest mistake? What did I overlook in the plan? Were there rules mistakes that were made? And what were they? Right? Was the risk taking rationale aligned with what needed to be done, and what could have been done better? And the patience piece we spoke about before, there is a whole mechanic with regards to each turning point, right? With regards to the strategic phase and so forth. Don't forget to follow that flow effectively as well, right? Because in a lot of instances, especially me, I've played a lot of games, even some nights when I'm tired, I go straight from rolling initiative into the first move, right?
Look,
when my brain's a bit frazzled. So, yeah.
nobody beat
Keeping,
yourself up about that, even at the highest levels against, we're talking like, yeah, we're a bunch of like top 10 world players at this point. Like that kind of stuff. Dude, we'll forget too. We'll be halfway through TP1 and be like, huh, no one picked a tac op. Neat. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Neat, neat, neat. Oh, pick a tac op real quick. It happens. It happens to everybody.
yeah, literally. So like being patient and just pausing, I think, is a great thing as well at the end of each turning point, especially when you're learning the game. Because when you're in a game and it's a casual game or it's an intro game or it's a learning game, if you're playing with someone who's committed to teaching you, they will take their time with you. They're there to make sure you have a great experience, you understand the game. So don't be afraid to pause and just think and ask questions, right? I think that's really important. If you're
Yes.
not if you're not sure on something, just ask, because in a lot of instances, walking into an environment like this, whether you're an extrovert, whether you're an introvert, it might be a little bit more difficult for you. Just safe space. Ask as many questions as you want. You got any experience with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I use that line a lot. Like whenever a new player, it's always keep asking questions because I don't know what you don't understand if you don't ask me,
Mm,
kind of thing. And if I'm like at a tournament and I'm playing a newer person who's like say at their first tournament or whatnot, I tell them that too. It's like I'm gonna give you all this information. You're not gonna remember everything I tell you about my team. Please just keep asking for refresher questions. I am more than happy to repeat myself 100 times in a game if you are uncertain of something rather than you make a move and be like, "Oh fuck, I didn't know you could do this."
I'm gonna have to edit that one out.
Was that my only one? That might have been my. Okay, you know what? You know what? Dude, it's been 55 minutes, only one. That's fine. That's a record. That's an
That is
actual
gold.
record.
That is gold. That is gold. But
Just
you're
bleep
spot
it
on.
out. Bleep it
Yeah,
out and leave
literally.
that other part in. 55. I was on my best behavior. Boom.
That is gold, mate. But no, but you're spot on. Asking questions and not knowing
Yeah.
who knows what is like legitimately a really important way to absorb information.
Like if I had to deliver a one-liner about it, it's a game of communication, not a game of deception.
Yeah,
You're there to make fully informed decision, and your opponent is there to give you the information about their stuff that you need. I mean, outside of their, don't be asking them like, "Hey, what's your strategy going to the next turning point?" That's not the stuff they're supposed to tell you. Their rules
yeah,
and all that information and how those rules interact with each other, they have to give you that. That's part of the game. Got to play it in
yeah.
good faith.
And I think you've touched on a really good point there. Kill team, even though personally I've seen elements of it with regards to people wanting to get wins based on this potentially being the be all and end all in their lives with regards to competitive engagement, or wanting to get a notch on their belt essentially. 99% of the community is amazing, and want to welcome people in. So just be comfortable enough to just come wherever you are in the world to a location and having a go, because I know sometimes for people it can get a little bit nerve wracking, and we've got a couple of people in our community who are coming out of their shells and want to play the game and are transitioning from that hobby piece to getting models on the table, and it's always been
Nice.
something potentially that's a bit overwhelming for them. But just understand that 99% chance you're going to have an amazing time, right? And the people who are going to teach you the game are going to want you to have fun while you're playing, right? This is not something that's designed to have you turn up and be stomped on, which unfortunately happens a lot more in 40K than it does in Kill Team. But
Oh
Kill
yeah,
Team,
you wanna have
yeah,
a side podcast episode on the discussion between me having steeped myself in both communities for a while and now more or less wholesale switch to Kill Team. I stayed just sharp enough in 40K that I could go to an RTT and go like 2-1, but the wholesale switch, oh man, the community aspect and the cultural differences, wild in terms of attitude. There's just some kind
yeah.
of demon that gets brought out in 40K when you put more models on the table that it just isn't present in Kill Team.
Look, I think because I played 40K way back in the day, right? I started off in Rogue Trader, yep, showing my age here, but then I moved across and I stopped playing in I think fourth edition, and I think there's something a lot more personal with putting more models on the table, and collecting more models and financially investing in more models that makes it, in my opinion, and I'm not speaking for the entirety of the community. I'm
Oh yeah,
just saying
absolutely not. This
there's,
is not like
yeah,
a
yeah,
blanket general. This is we all know the people I'm talking about. All
yeah,
anybody who plays 40K
exactly.
is listening. You know exactly who I'm talking about when I'm referring to the demon inside.
Yeah, legitimately. And I think that the thing that makes Kill Team so um, disproportionate to that style is the fact that it's quick, it's punchy, the investment is minimal compared to, but also as well that the type of person that plays Kill Team. I even connect with other TOs, other community leaders across the globe, and it's just, how can I help you grow your community, right? It isn't gatekeeping in any way.
Yeah, there's no
Everybody
butting
wants to
heads. Everybody's
no.
on the same table. Like even in
Oh,
our area, we will coordinate to ensure that we don't overlap in our events and all that. Like we go hard for the community building around here. It's really good.
yeah, and that's phenomenal. And so people wanting to come and play Kill Team, just going back to that for a second, 99% chance you're going to have an awesome time, right? So don't be shy. Come out. You don't need to bring anything. There's people that will loan you teams. There's people that will loan you equipment, dice, tokens. Just come out and have a game, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. I borrowed teams for major tournaments. So yeah, like
And that's practically unheard of in 40K, right? And again, not trying to talk ill of the 40K scene, because I absolutely love it. We're running a league
I mean
right now
that
in
all
GTR.
depends. Like oh man, I'm part of a club, Maple Leaf Wargaming. Yeah, dude, I've borrowed entire armies multiple times. It's all about the people you keep close, kind of
Yeah,
thing, more than anything
yeah,
else. But in Kill Team, like people you just met, yeah, they'll lend you whole teams if you're like, oh yeah, you want to here, yeah, you can borrow my team. Let's learn the game real quick.
yeah. And look, in all honesty, so I've run a couple of really large tournaments, and just pivoting over to the tournament side of things. Um, we've had people come to our tournaments who have never played a game of Kill Team in their life, right? They've read all the rules, they've gotten into all the kind of theory crafting and so forth, but they've come to tournaments. And we had five at the Purge at the start of the year, and they were messaging me saying we want to play, but we don't want to be a burden on people. We don't want to kind of put people out by being new. And I'm like, mate, come to the tournament. What's going to happen is I'm going to tell people you guys are new, and the people who are playing you are just going to give you an intro game while maximizing points as well. You're going to learn how to play the game. You're going to get your first experience at a first tournament. You're going to have a great time, and people are going to be happy that the community is growing. So don't be shy, right? And I think that's, again, just
Yeah,
reflecting on the Kill Team community. It's phenomenal, right?
yeah, like to mirror like same thing down here. It's wonderful to see too. Like you'll tell people Like, oh yeah, these are the newer players here at the tournament, and then they'll get treated well throughout the course of the tournament. They'll learn a bunch of stuff and just have a great time. They'll probably lose every single game. They'll learn so much from those 3 games and have a blast doing it.
Literally, literally. And announcing those people at the start of the tournament, not from a, hey, look at these noobs, but guys, we've got some new friends with us today, right? If it's your first time at a tournament or first time playing Kill Team, put your hand up, and they put their hands up, and I'm like, guys, please make them feel welcome, teach them as much as you can, and make sure they have a cracking time, right? And this is what I think just changes the perception for tabletop wargaming in general, right? Because there is this stigma with tabletop wargaming. You might have hobbyists who are really passionate about painting and they're amazing at painting and putting minis up on display and taking photos and so forth. But when it comes to take that step across that threshold from painting to playing, and this is anyone who's starting playing, right? Even if you're not a hobbyist, it's so important from a community perspective to make them feel warm and welcome. That's one thing I think that is paramount. And it sounds great, Vivek, that you guys are actually not only championing that, but really making it a focus in terms of growth for your community that I think more communities need to do, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, like this is when we're talking about leisure time, this needs to be like a good and righteous time for all involved. Is where I stand on
100%.
that. And that's where our entire community building ethos comes from, is from building from that foundation first and foremost. And it's been wonderful to be a part of it. It's wonderful to like be a part of this grassroots community growth. I'm glad to have a little bit of a hand in it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And mate, if you don't mind me asking, when you do come across those few and far between instances where there might be, a person who's probably taking the game a little bit too seriously for whatever reason, because to your point, this needs to be an escape, a release from the daily grind, right? If you do come across those people, and I'm sure you have, how do you guys handle that out of curiosity?
We actually have a practical example of like a good story on that front. We had somebody who was taken a little too seriously. We have a TO community, so we all communicate kind of thing. We talked to this person, and that's all they needed to be like, oh, my behavior was problematic. I will fix it, and they fixed it. They're
Yeah,
wonderful.
fantastic.
They're wonderful now. Like all they needed was that communicated because sometimes you just don't see it. Like when you're in the middle of doing a very engaging competitive activity, you don't really have that best introspection of yourself in that moment. It's a high energy moment. Later on, when you're low energy and you're reflecting upon it, you might not catch all the things you did because you were up then and now you're down now. Uh, that all you needed was for somebody to tell you, it's like, hey, you're being a little too intense. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I will keep myself in check. And then they'll do it because most people are there to be part of the community and have a good time. And yeah, sometimes some people lose a little bit of themselves. It is a complicated and hard world out there, and sometimes all they need is like a little reminder, be like, hey, a little too
Yeah.
serious. Let's like tone it down, and then boom, fixes the problem kind of thing. So we've had exactly one problem, and it was solved through
Yeah,
that.
fantastic. And you're spot on there, right? Sometimes people are too busy looking in and outwards rather than looking out and inwards. So to have that, perspective from externally, in a lot of instances, people don't mean it, right? It's just that they're, maybe caught up a little bit in the moment or a few different scenarios. They might not see how they're behaving. So that check-in is probably invaluable for them as well, right? Because they don't want to be, pushed out or ostracized in any way. So giving them that feedback is really important.
Yeah, the example I go to is if you've ever seen somebody get like really intense over a sports game they're watching on TV,
Hmm.
kind of same idea sort of thing where it's like they're intensely involved in this thing and they may not understand what they're doing entirely in that moment until somebody tells
Yeah.
them like, hey, you gotta calm down.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. And that's a great example, right? Because yeah, in a lot of instances, and I've experienced this in Kill Team, you do get people who are playing to win, and that's okay, right? We all want to, play to win and do it ethically and not get it out of gotcha moments and so forth. And we've seen a couple of examples online at the top tables in the competitive scene where that's happened. And, unfortunate things do happen, but 99% of the community want to come out and have fun, roll dice and win, with the right ethical outcome. So yeah, from a kill team perspective, I personally haven't seen it impact the community too much, which is great.
Yeah, it's been very good.
Yeah, even at the top end, right? Even at the top end. But Vivek, mate, it's been great having you
Yeah, man.
on the show.
Love being
Before,
on.
yeah, but before we wrap up, any shout outs you want to drop?
Oh, guys, always too many. All right, we're gonna start shout out Top Shelf because we're running a tournament tomorrow. We're doing a 3-man teams tournament. Be a good time. Shout out to everybody on the Great Lakes Kill Team Discord because there's so very many of you. There's so many. Shout out to Angel in particular because you're a focus of this episode here with the us talking about the first game of Kill Team, and that lesson was real visceral. And then shout out to George for getting me into this in the first place. It's been great for everyone involved. It's been a good time. And the rest of you, you all know you're very important to me, and I love you, but there's like way too many of you for me to go list every single one right now. But know that I love you all.
And hey, can we shout out my mate Jas Boone, who is an Aussie, but now
absolutely.
a Canadian.
He was wondering.
Jason and his best mate, who still lives here in Australia, minutes away from me, by the way, who's a really good mate of mine, Jimmy C, came to one of my first tournaments, one of my first majors, and it was so great to have those guys there. And I now know he's over involved in the Canadian scene as well, is it?
Oh yeah, dude, he's a killer, man. He's an assassin, and he says inappropriate things when there are children within earshot.
Look, I think that's just the Australian in us because our language is really colourful. And it's done with nothing but pure love, but translated
into... don't worry, it's 2025. Yeah. The kids have heard worse. It's fine.
Oh my god, yeah. No, but what I'm saying is, even when we talk amongst ourselves, it's super colourful. But like if we were to have a conversation,
way to put it.
Yeah, if we were to have a conversation in front of a couple of US friends and stuff like that, like we still get gasps. People are just like, "Oh my god!" Like I can't believe you said that. It's like, we're just talking. Like, this is how we talk, right? Vivek,
oh my god!
Before we let you go, mate, just give us a little bit of a snippet because you are headed to Worlds. Yes, give us a little bit of a snippet on how you're prepping.
Oh, I mean, it's not like I'll play games with good people. That's it. Read all of the rules. Read the stuff. Play games with people who are good at the game, and then talk about the game with people who are good at the game. Nothing super complicated.
Yeah, and tell me, do you think it's going to be a sea of death watching Canoptech?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Unless they drop a cheeky slate before the cutoff and be like, Sea of Canoptic for sure. I don't know about Sea of Deathwatch. Deathwatch is good, but
yeah,
again, it's just a little too easy to. Everybody can only move dash so far and counteract 2 inches. It's kind of you can sort of figure out exactly where everybody can go a little too quick.
Yeah.
And once you kind of know where everybody's gonna go, you can kind of sort of just not be there.
Yeah, look, I think they're amazing.
They're still my love. Don't get me wrong. It's just to take to Worlds where it's like everybody knows everything they are doing all the time. That's where I'm still gonna play them at everything here. Like I will maybe pick up one team or just play Corsairs for Worlds. After that, I'm playing only Deathwatch until I have to worry about playing at Worlds again. That's where I stand on it.
Yeah. Just thinking about it, it's going to be interesting because I know they're a love, just like you say, they're a love and a favorite for everyone. So there's almost like a level of honor to put them on the table for the first time at Worlds, and play competitively with them. But I just don't know how good they're going to go because, I
also want to be a special snowflake. I'd rather take a team nobody is taking.
Take Vespids, mate, please.
I mean, Aquilon's very solid, maybe. They're still on the list. They play the game in a real fun way.
Spicy as, mate.
I mean, I could get behind Vespids. It's cute. I don't know. I want a Melta. That's my main thing. I want a Melta for every Deathwatch player.
Yeah, Gallo Dark with Vespids with the new crit ops looks pretty unforgiving.
Yeah, that is true. That will be a little unforgiving.
Yeah. Vivek, thank you so much, mate. Appreciate your insights. Thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure. Everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed it. Vivek dropped an absolute gem, and we look forward to hosting you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.